Right, the ground is baked out here, you can hear it underfoot. It is rock solid, so what better time than now to produce a guide on how to play from hard pan lies. Explain to you what kind of ball flight you might expect using your stock, how to maybe move your strike point around a little bit, how important the equipment is in that, and also the tricky one, how to get elevation when the ball really isn't in a position to hit high very easily. First off, let's look at how the ball kind of wants to behave from this kind of lie and why, and then we'll segue into why equipment becomes very, very important from this type of surface. It's very, very difficult to get this leading edge low enough on a golf ball. We have this bounce angle back here somewhere, and you can see the leading edge is raised from that. Now, if this ground is rock solid here, it's very difficult to get that leading edge low enough on the ball to get a good quality strike. You're more likely to actually catch the club a little bit higher on the golf ball, which leads to lower, hotter ball flights as a rule. Now this one obviously has a bit of a crescent shape. It is a T from ping, 6 degrees of bounce, and as you can see, there's a lot of toe relief and a lot of heel relief. That's going to be vital when I need to get leading edge lower to hit higher shots with an open face, as you'll see later on. So let's start with the basic, how to strike it from a hard pan. Now we need to negate this bounce angle, so we need the shaft to be leaning forwards, maybe more than normal. Okay, that gets leading edge lower to the ground. It'll move your contact point on the ground further forwards as well, which is crucial. What we can't have is this bounce exposed early and too far behind the golf ball, because it'll just kick up, and at very best, you'll get a hot low flight. So what I'm going to make sure I do is deliver more lean. Delivering lean can be done in a couple of different ways. I think the mistake people make is trying to actually drive the club forwards with the hands and the arms and really thrust ahead of the golf ball, whereas I prefer to produce lean through setup and pivot. So what can we do? We can go ball back a little bit, back a couple in a stance. Obviously going to produce a lower flight, and I'm going to make sure that when I pivot I do turn well through the shot, and I make sure my head and my nose are ahead of the golf ball. I'm going to put more lean on the club. I'm going to pressure it this way with my body versus driving it, and that should move the contact point further forwards. That was better. As you'll see from this camera, that was too hot, so we're going to have to look for some elevation, and that's where we're going to go next. But there's one other thing we can do first, and that's to look to actually hit more of a cut. So I'm going to look to produce more of an out-in path. Face at start line, I'm actually going to stand open, small cut. Just a little floaty, but not bad. In you go, thank you. Bring the ball speed right down, a little more trajectory on it, still maintain strike, not a problem. So more of a kind of a deflected cut, face at start line, path shifted way left. Now my path tends to be a little bit inside, so that's where I really need to start to open up, because I can't really pivot hard enough to get the path left. My bias is always a little bit in, which I try and fight all the time. So that's how to slow the ball down, but let's look at how to hit the ball higher. This is tricky. Okay, let's make sure we've got face on camera in a decent position. I keep looking for more bare lies. Here we go, nice and solid. This is hard, because in order to get height, I can do things with the club face, fine. If I rotate this thing open and I leave kind of the fat part of the bounce on the ground, that leading edge is so high off the ground, I've got a problem. That's where equipment's going to help. We'll come to that. But what I can't really do from this kind of lie is try and add any kind of loft in the swing. If I start to try and release this to gain height, the bounce angle is going to increase even more. The club's going to kick into the ball. And at very, very best case scenario, I get leading edge quite hard on the golf ball. But there really isn't a way from this lie to deliver no shaft lean with an open face and not bone it across the green. So there has to be some grass underneath there. From this, it's just not going to happen. So I've now said that, I guess I should probably really hit one. So let's go face a little bit open. I'm going to put the ball up a touch, you know, all traditional high ball stuff. And I'm going to try and release this and line this up and see what happens. Now I'm expecting ball speed. Off you go then. Just an absolute disaster, and that is the total issue with trying to increase loft and reduce shaft lean off hard pan when bounce is exposed. It's just like the worst case scenario. Everything you could do to thin the ball, you're doing right there, try and hit it high. So we need a better solution. So we're going to go with something maybe a little bit counterintuitive to hit a high ball. I'm going to try and hit the high ball with shaft lean. I'm going to try and deliver as much shaft lean, which would be maybe 5 to 10 degrees, as I do with my stock shot. We're going to go more towards 10 because I need that shaft lean to give me a little bit of descent into the ground and try and reduce the bounce. I'm going to open the face a little bit, but importantly, I'm going to try and sit the first one on the heel side. So looking from this camera, I'm actually going to set the handle down a little bit and get the toe of the club slightly in the air. Now, this is a little bit scary. It does a couple of things really well. It gets leading edge really tight to the ground with loft, but you will strike somewhat close to the heel. So if you have any issues living in the heel and shanks, I wouldn't do it this way. I've got another option coming in a second. I wouldn't do this. This is the way to get max height, but it's also a bit risky. So what I'm going to do is set the face open. I'm going to lower the shaft down so I can get the heel sat nice and tight. I'm going to try and deliver a good amount of shaft lean because I don't want this thing to kick up into the golf ball. We're going to see if we can add a little bit of float. I might even cut it a little bit just to get my contact point closer to the ball. So we're open face, we're heel down, little cut, keeps my shaft lean, no throw. Right, so I've managed to increase trajectory without exposing this to the ground. No release, put shaft lean on it, face open, heel down. I said there's an alternative. If you're scared of living in there, I'm a bit worried about it, not gonna lie to you. There's another option. Now this again depends on the grind of your club. So we're gonna go toe side. There is toe relief as well. We have this crescent shape, remember? I'm gonna sit that close to the ball, close to the ground. I'm gonna spin the face open. The heel is way off the ground. I'm gonna have to aim quite a long way left here. Grip down a little bit so I can get the shaft more vertical. And I'm gonna try again to not release it and cut across. Height is limited, but it should be much higher than my stock shot. Make sure I lean it. Oh, right underneath that. That was actually pretty good. Pretty good. Now, what that does is reduces any kind of risk of being over here. We're living in the toe. All right, so to add trajectory, we want lean. You can't remove the lean to add height. It just doesn't work. The club, as you saw, kicks up in. At very best, you get it perfect. You're still too high with leaning edge on a golf ball. It's a disaster waiting to happen. So we go face open to some degree, shaft down to sit this close to the ground, or shaft up. As you'll have seen, they produce slightly different flights, both higher than normal, one much, much higher, so consider that. From a mechanics perspective, have to cut it. What we can't be is shaft down, face open here, and swinging into out. That's a disaster. That's just moving the hosel out to the golf ball. And the contact point on the ground will be too far back, right? So the more out in we are, if I exaggerate, the more out in, the further forward to hit the ground. The more in out I am, as a rule, the further back I'm going to hit the ground. We need to get that contact point as close to the golf ball as humanly possible, not too far forward. You thin it on the downswing. Okay, there is a sweet spot there. Okay, so adding trajectory from hard pan, not easy, but very, very possible.